And I was on disability because my hand was a mess, and I couldn't, it's still a mess. It hurts, and it's a mess.
This is when you were living in your car.
There's nothing in my car, and I had a ball. I don't want to hear anybody say again how terrible it is to live in a car. I had a pit bull. She crawled under the covers with me over the luggage in the back, and we slept in the car. It was great. So I used to park a lot near the lifeguards because it was safer there. Malibu police couldn't get after me as easily. They give you $20 for a parking ticket, the bastards over there. So, boy, they ruined that place. So I'm sitting there in my car, and I'm just, reading a book, and got it kind of a little bit in the shade, so Chica's feeling good and cool before I go out on the beach. And this guy came into dusk and evening, a young guy, nice looking, and invited me over the door open, and my dog, I'm never afraid with Chica with me, Not with those teeth. And so I sat inside him, and all of a sudden he began to expose himself. And I just ignored it. So I took the dog and I went up out of the van, and he left the door open and everything, And the next morning...
How old was he? How old was he about?
Oh, very hard for me to guess. I'd say 25 and 30, a young guy. And so this is in 1980. And so then he sat down in the front seat. I was still in the back with Chica, sleeping on the books and the trunk and all the stuff that I had, paraphernalia I had with me. So he opens up his pants, and there he is again. So I leaned for him and I said, "What the hell do you think you were doing?" He said, "Well, girls like that." I said, "No kidding, because they really like it?" I said, "Well, this is one girl gotten past the girlish age, and she doesn't like it. So you better cover your goddamn self up, or I'll know the reason why." And boy, he got out of there bluey. Let me tell you. That's the kind of crazy things that happen in Los Angeles. You think it ever happened in New York? No. I went on a subway at night, and I took, once I got on a subway at night, and there were three little old ladies. I'm a little old lady now, but I don't consider myself that, because they were condescending, because a young black guy, and he had a sack with it looked like whiskey in it, some kind of booze. And he gets up right away to the pool. The whole thing is empty, mind you, the whole car is empty, except for me sitting on the side. And so this is the truth. This is how people get killed and how they don't get killed. We're making a movie.
Excuse me.
Come on in.
Go ahead.
And so he went up and he raised a little hooligan with him. "Oh, you did, bad boy. Oh, they get off. Whiskey. And then they find it. The next stop, they get off. Now he's a little bit frustrated because he hasn't gotten anything out of his fun yet, and he's a little more than a little stoned. So I just sat where I sat, didn't move, and he sat down right beside me. And so I very carefully, quietly leaned into him. Just leaned. Just a little bit. And then I leaned a little more, and I relaxed, And he didn't know what to do. And it was the funniest thing, because I wasn't condescending, he felt in me. What I felt was warmth, and don't feel bad. I didn't feel like I was trying to make it or anything. And in fact, I didn't think I know how to do that. But he did relax, and he sat with his bottle, and when it was time to get up, he got up. I was around after that. I remember a case when a Puerto Rican boy, that was black guy. The Puerto Rican boy was 17 years old in New York, and had a very good reputation as a delivery boy and for a grocery, and handling things in the grocery. He got on, he got a little bit stoned. He got on the car, and a big burly man, you're not going to talk to my wife. You're not going to sit against my wife in this place. And he sits down there. The kid's standing by the pole, and the guy gets up right away for no reason. He says, "Don't you come near my wife! Don't you?" And the kid pulled out a knife and killed him, just like that. And that boy who'd never done a goddamn thing in his life, why? Because that jerk was condescending. And until people stop learning, if they don't start learning, don't be condescending. You can think, you're inferior. You may find out you're not quite so inferior as you thought you were. So I never had any trouble in there. If a junkie asked me, or if someone who was a drinker, like we used to do near the apartment where we lived, up there on Columbus Avenue, and they'd come over, and the old lady, she'd be watching me, she'd skirt across the on the stoop, and she'd come over and say, "Oh, could I have a couple of dollars? I need something." I said, "Sure." I knew where the $2 was going. What am I going to do? Revive her there? If you get her into a movement? See, I've never been in love before, like in Guys and Dolls. No, Salvation Army, not me. I gave her what she needed back then. I'm proud.
Since I got you now, since I got you talking about this stuff,
Yeah.
let me ask you, let's go back to when we lived on at 139 West, not 139, 32 West 82nd Street on the third floor.
Those are the fun days.
Those were the fun days when we lived with, when you were
Every
seeing,
night was New Year's. We had a,
and you were seeing,
Ray Claiborne was on the food, had control of the food sheet of the New York Times, along with Pierre Frenet, he had used a lot too, was a great French chef. And every week, every night, he'd have dinner menu for tonight, and that's
Who
what
was
we
that?
had.
Who was that?
And Craig Claiborne.
on
Oh,
TV, you mean?
Craig.
On TV? On TV?
No, he's on the page of the LA.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not
I'm
the
sorry.
LA.
I wasn't
Oh, my
listening.
God. The New York Times.
Right.
And so, what did he have? Like, he'd have dandelion greens, steamed dandelion greens.
And you'd make these.
We had an Italian
Yeah.
grocery one. We had two drugstores, and there was a big supermarket there. Remember when
Associated.
one guy got killed? Because
Associated,
they did,
yeah.
They did butcher shots in
There was Stu and Arnie.
Arnie, right, Arnie.
Arnie-
And
Arnie got
was
killed.
responsible for killings. They hadn't started all that damn shooting in the bottom of that damn market. That never
And
happened.
remember, what was the Carlos?
He chased a guy clear around.
Carlos
the
ran
block.
across the street
Well, Carlos
from
was different.
from the
Carlos had
from the,
brains.
the Cuban store.
He liked to hunt, and he had hunting guns, and he had licenses for them.
The bodega.
And he only came out one time. He never tried to make over the world. He came out one time and held guys off from robbing that bank by pointing it at it till the cops could get there. And we also had one policeman. It was Look magazine had it was 83rd Street.
84th Street.
81st Street.
84th, the worst.
No, 84th Street, the worst street in New York.
Right, but let me go back to here. Let me go back to when we lived there, okay, and you were
32.
the 32.
Oh, and I'll tell you a real interesting
Okay,
story about that.
wait,
We
wait.
had 3 apartments there.
I know that. I know.
We had
But
18, we had 60, we had 3
I know you weren't working then, were you?
No.
No.
Your father was sending his little piddling $45 to $65 a week.
Right.
And so I lived
And
in a
how-
white
what-
suite
how much was the
sweatshirt,
rent then?
And I had blue jeans, and they were always.
How much was the
pressed
rent to that apartment? Do you remember?
That big one?
Yeah.
Or the 6E?
No,
I'll tell a story
no,
about the 6E.
no, 3A.
Well, we'll get to that. Let me tell a story about the one and the one in 6E.
Okay.
Because I went to the store, I swore we were never going to have a dog in New York. All my life I've had a dog.
I remember 6E, yeah.
I'd have a dog. But this time I said, I got 2 little kids there, and I have to run like hell to the store, be sure nothing happens to them while I'm gone, because then nobody would look after them. But they were very good, and they waited as I'm used to wait for them. I'll be back when we'll make a nice dinner. And we did make a nice dinner. But on the way down, the lady on the street had a Manchester Terrier, and she had 5 little puppies. They were Welsh Corgi, who was the father, and he was a show dog. And so I looked at him, and there's one little puppy that struck me. And I said, no, I know what's going to happen. It'll be my job to train him. It'll be my job to take him out, and that'll be the end of that.
And this is Barney. We're talking about Barney.
We're talking about Barney. So we call him Barney, right? But let me tell you what you don't know about this, and this is very interesting. I came to the door with the groceries. On the way back, I picked him up and I said, oh, what the hell? I'm going to bring the kids a puppy. And we came, he was 5 weeks old. I came home, you were at the door waiting for me, just a little animal, you know. And you open up the door, and Michael, I will never forget the look on your face. Never. I only seen that look twice. Once in painting Jesus Christ, there was a glow, something super glow. And I mean, it was holy. Both of you had it. You looked up at me. I was so shaken by it. I've never seen it. How could a small child feel a beautiful feeling, that beautiful emotion like that? And so, of course, we played earthquake later, you know. But at that moment, there was something so gorgeous. And there's one other person that I've seen that look on, and that's Christopher Reeves. I saw him on television, all paralyzed and covered up with, tails and so on. His face was like a god's. He had the most beautiful purity in his face that I've ever seen, except in a painting or those 2 little kids. And that means to me, there's something in those genes that lives for a long, long time. That's good.
Is that the story?
That's the story.
Good, thank you. Now back to the third floor apartment. You had to leave there because he stopped paying, right?
Well, that's because Paul was around a lot.
Right, and
And I
that's
like Paul. Paul was a
and
great
that's
guy.
when he
Played basic basketball.
and that's the day and that's the time that he took us to court, right? For
Oh,
custody,
yeah.
right?
Signed all the papers to pay everything, and I had never done that. I always thought, depended on the fact that your father was respectable and he would do the right thing and not take you through court and that. So when he found out that Paul had been in my bed, when he had the flu, we called the doctor. The doctor was willing to be witness. He was mad as hell. And he was in the reserve, and that was at Fort Dix, and he was so burned up because this big statue they had in front of Fort Dix was of a soldier going like this, and it says, "The ultimate weapon." Oh, Paul, I couldn't stand that. This is crazy.
All right, so
Paul didn't last too long because I didn't love him anymore.
right, okay,
He
so
was
then
the best guy in bed. You know why? Because he wasn't a prostitute. All the rest of them, your father included, they'd done it a million times the same way, and I was
All right.
innocent. I didn't know about all this. But with him, he gave his feelings, he loved me, and he gave his heart as well as his body. And I say that for Paul Casper right now.
all right, so then we had to leave there. Now, we had to leave there because he wouldn't pay. Wilbur wouldn't pay. We had to
And then
leave.
as soon as he signed the papers, he wouldn't do a thing.
Okay, so then we went to court and we had the custody battle. You won the custody
I
battle,
won the custody. I
right?
had to stay within 100 miles of Philadelphia.
Okay, and you couldn't leave.
But everything went out the window because I'd auditioned already for 2 or 3 plays that were classics.
Right.
And I suddenly learned one was done with, it was Maxwell Anderson,